Brandon, hold on, Brandon.
You
Hold
told me you
on.
said ready.
I
Come
gotta
on,
hit
man.
I gotta hit the broadcast button.
I thought you hit the button. Let's go. All right, man. Let's go.
Now you up. Hey, you ain't
All
drinking
right.
this morning, is you?
No, man. Just water.
All right.
Just
I'm just
water this
checking.
morning,
I'm
man.
just
It's
checking.
man. It's 8 o'clock. What kind of? Anyway, all right.
I've seen strange things like that, bro.
No, not for me. Not at 8. Not at 8:30.
All
But
right,
anyway,
let's go.
welcome everybody to the Listen Up podcast. Today we got a very special edition, man. We got the guys, the fellows from the Double Fries No Slaw podcast on with us. Freddie, Richie, what's up?
What's up, man? Just chilling, man. Getting ready. I'm probably gonna head to church later, but vibing with y'all boys early this morning.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
up early on a Sunday morning, man. I typically try to sleep till 9, but you guys got me up. But I'm excited, do a little season review and hang out with y'all for a little bit.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, Richie, I guess you've been on the podcast before, so but go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you got going on. Talk about the podcast a little bit.
Yeah, so I joined y'all earlier in the summer, I believe, and since then at that time I was producing the Rollcast, which Trey decided to step away for good. He's doing the triple action thing with Tomahawk Nation now, but I started Double Fries No Slaw, just a Florida State podcast with Freddie and our buddy TJ Pittenger. And we're just having fun with it, talking Florida State football. We don't really get into like recruiting very deep or anything, not really into the analytics too much, but just bringing on guests and just having a good time. Who doesn't love to talk about their favorite 3 and 16? All right.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
Freddie, man, speak to us, man. Introduce yourself. Talk about the book, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. I mean, we know you, of course, but
Yeah, I had the opportunity to play Florida State from 2013 to 2016. My freshman year, we won the national championship. Had a pretty decent career. Had the opportunity to play alongside some greats, James Winston, Dalvin Cook, some of those guys, and they made me look good out there. You know what I'm saying? So some people remember me. But right now I'm doing the Double Fries and stuff podcast with Richie, and wrote a book last year just about my life overcoming obstacles. Just coming from a crazy environment, being homeless at times, overcoming all the different obstacles, and then overcoming all that and having the opportunity to make it to accomplish my ultimate goal, make it to the NFL, although that was short-lived in the Dustin life after ball. And I think not even just an athlete, just a person, when you've been striving for a goal your whole life and training yourself to accomplish that goal, and then it's no longer a reality, I think that's a tough pill to swallow. So going through depression, anxiety, confusion, and just going down the dark road and ultimately almost cost me my life. But I found purpose in the dark place. So that's what my book is about, and it's had the opportunity to impact some lives. So it's been a blessing.
no, man, that's incredible. I mean, it's a great story, man.
Hey, Brandon, it's funny because we had Richie on for we did, we do those little offbeat political light type episodes where we kind of do social stuff. We had Richie on for that, you know what I'm saying? And it was pretty cool having that conversation. I know me and Freddie had got into it one time on the timeline about some political stuff, you know what I'm saying? But it was cool, man. It's just good to have people on. Yeah, well, it's politics, but it's just good to have people on that you don't always have to agree with everything. So, and having guys on the pod that's from other pods and stuff, because I know people always feel like it's some type of beef or animosity. So I was like, just happy to have y'all guys on, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Shoot, I don't really get into the politics. When I do it, so all the real people are wrong way. But if one thing about me, I'm a talk. But if I ever feel like it's a situation, and people know that, but if I ever feel like a situation where, all right, man, I may have been tripping. You see, I ain't too prideful to admit, like, all right, maybe I was tripping though.
Hey, one thing about it though, it ended well. I thought, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it was a great teaching moment for shooters. Like I remember when it happened. I was telling people, I was like, man, shoot, I'm finna go show the youngers that I be mentoring this. Like, cause I think one of the biggest things is like, people let pride get like, nah, they tried me. Nah, like, it ain't, you can't be too proud to admit when you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
showed them that, and
Right.
then I was like, man, we came to an understanding. That was a teacher moment for like people. Like, I'm saying, all right, you ain't gotta always agree, but sometimes like you wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that was a big moment, and I appreciate y'all like schooling me. You can learn a lesson from anybody.
Yeah, man, it was cool, man. I know, man, when Adam, like we don't have Adam on the podcast, and usually when Adam come on the pod, we just kind of like everybody just mute mics.
Adam can go.
Yeah, bro.
No,
Yeah,
Adam gonna school you. He's gonna teach you. You're gonna learn something. You're gonna have to look up some words. You're gonna be on your phone. Okay, what was that?
you
What,
realize,
what was that word you just said? Yeah, no, Adam
yeah,
is good.
you realize there's a lot of books you haven't read. You be like, damn, you know what I'm saying? I'm not as smart as I thought I was. But yeah, let's get into it though, man.
All right. Well, I mean, so we got a few topics we're gonna talk about today. I guess the first one, coaching changes, right? So we know there's been some. I don't know. I guess the proper. I want to say problems, but I'll say. I mean, we looked at. Let's just say that the defense wasn't great, right? So I think a lot of people felt like there should have been a coaching change, or maybe there needs to still be a coaching change. But with the season over with, how do you feel, Freddie? I guess you can answer first. How do you feel, about the coaches? Do you feel like it's too early to make some changes, or should we actually, pull the plug on some of these guys?
No, I think I just from what I've seen so far this year, I don't know if I believe that Fuller's a good fit. Just seeing the scheme he runs. I know they said the system he comes under with the guy over at A&M running and it being successful, but I just don't think a lot of times during the season, guys have been put in right situations. Like there have been situations where he had great play calls and guys just weren't making plays. But then you go back to like games like Louisville and guys are playing 15 yards off and just giving guys free releases downfield. And it's been a lot of situations like that throughout the season that didn't necessarily make sense. And we're like, all right, you can call out the players, but at the same time, you got to call out the coaches as well. Like that, you're not putting these guys in situations to be successful. If I'm 15 yards off and I'm guarding a straight burner, like I'm like, coach, man, like you trying to embarrass me, you trying to put somebody highlight tape. So it's just been a lot of situations that makes you raise your eyebrows as far as him. And I as a whole, my biggest issue is the second half adjustments. I don't think we've done a good job of that the entire season. Even against Duke, you saw it. Like if it wasn't for that Brendan Gant play, Duke makes that game a whole different game. Like him to chase Bryce out the game, you saw it. Like we started out hot and three straight unanswered scores by Duke, and completely changed the game. So that was the story the whole entire season. We start out hot, and then we can't do anything the rest of the game. So we got to get that figured out.
Richie, yeah, man, go ahead.
Yeah, man. So with Fuller, it's tough, right? Because that's a bad look on Norvell because he worked with him and brought him over, and we saw what the defense was this year. So if a decision is made to move on from Fuller, I completely support that. But if you're Mike Norvell, man, you better have a defensive coordinator proven at the Power 5 level ready to come in, because you can't bring another Group of 5 guy in and roll the dice on that, because that could be his job in a few years if he makes another bad hire. So, from what we hear, the players don't really trust the scheme that Fuller's running or the way he's teaching it. It's a bad situation because everyone on defense, this is essentially their fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years. You had Charles Kelly, you had Harlan Barnett, then they brought in Levitt to be the shadow defensive coordinator, I guess. And now we're on to Adam Fuller. Other coaching changes. I like most of the staff as a whole. I really do. There's a lot of chatter about Odell and Dugans potentially moving on, but they both just signed extensions that were announced. So, we know we're keeping them. So it's really, do you get rid of Adam Fuller? And it's, again, if I'm okay with it, but you better have a proven guy ready to step in. In Florida State, you cannot be cheap on this hire if that's the route you take.
No, I 100% agree, Sam. I mean, we've talked about it a few times, but
I would say this. I talked to somebody about this, and because I asked about the Ron Dugans and the Odell extension. I was like, why did they give Ron Dugans Odell extension? I mean, Odell had a really good position group coming into the season. Some of those guys did play well last year before this year. So how does he get a pass and get to come back? How does Ron Dugans? I thought that his wide receiver core was the worst it's been. I mean, I can't remember a worse group in Florida State this year. They was horrible. I mean, they was horrible all season. And there's talent there. I don't care what people think. There's talent there. So I was asking, how do you get them? How do they get extension? They said, well, they was extended earlier before the season started. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But I guess my biggest thing is, if you're going to give if Mike Norvell gets a pass for the season, you say it was COVID year, guys needed time to establish themselves at the program. They didn't have that time. Well, then you can't really fire. You're not going to blame Mike Norvell, so you also can't blame Adam Fuller. And if Mike Norvell is going to make that same excuse for Adam Fuller, he has to then turn around and make the same excuse for two guys are Knowles, with Odell and Dugans. So you can't fire Dugans and Odell and say they didn't do a good enough job, but then you allow Adam Fuller to keep his job. You know, I mean, that's the way it was explained to me. And I get the thought process, but I think my whole thing would be, if you're going to do a full rebuild and you have to burn it down from the ground up, if you got to start from the ground up, then you should get the best possible coaches that you think are going to be here in 3 to 4 years. Because if Adam Fuller, Odell, and Ron Dugans go into next season on the hot seat and you make another coaching change, I mean, that's just kind of, you waited a whole year to do something you should have already done. So and the kids do need, you know, continuity. They do need to have the same position coaches and be around the same people. And maybe another year, maybe they are playing better with more confidence. I just believe that I don't think anything Fuller's going to do next year is going to work. That's my personal belief. I thought they should fire. I think they should fire him. I think they should fire 2 other coaches. I mean, that's just my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Mike Norvell's program, and he has a better idea of it than we do. So we're just talking heads, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I keep going back to. I think we probably spent 15 minutes talking about this second and goal play, and you know, all the linebackers are standing in the end zone, and I
Right.
like those are the coaching mistakes, and those are the things that I look at and I say, I'm supposed to trust that this guy knows what he's doing, and then I look at it and I say, all right, we're blitzing, but we got our guys playing off coverage, and I'm saying, okay, and so then if you're not, and I think maybe James said this, if you're not coaching it, you're allowing. And so I look at it and I say, what are we doing here? Because it seems like every game we're looking at the exact same problems. We're looking at the exact same mistakes. I mean, we watched against Duke. Freddie, you talked about it, where they clearly made an adjustment, and we didn't have an answer for it. If the quarterback didn't get hurt, like they would have ran that. They would have ran that off tackle play for the rest. You know what I mean? For the rest of the game, they would get.
Right.
How many times can you run the same play and go untouched before somebody says, "Hey, we're doing something wrong here"? You know what I'm saying? And I thought the commentators were, you know, they broke it down what happened, but I'm thinking, okay, that's a quick fix, right? That's a quick fix. So next time we come to the sideline. Okay, this is what happened. Let's make the adjustment. You come back out, but it comes back out. He takes up again, exact same play. And I'm thinking, all right, something. There's a disconnect somewhere, I think, between the players and the coaches when it comes to the defense. Now, Ron Dugans, Odell. I mean, I think we've talked about, you know, Odell Higgins since maybe the first or second podcast, right? The one we did with Poston Grimes. You know, they both. We talked about, you know, Odell kind of being a little bit past his prime. So I don't even want to go down that road. But for Odell Higgins, I mean, Sam said it best. The wide receiver group was by far the worst group of this season. Everybody you could see, all right, well, I can see a little bit of, you know, improvement. I can see a little bit of changes. All right, some people have made some strides in the right direction. But when it came to the actual wide receiver group, I like they were non-existent last week. You know what I mean? Like, and that was against Duke. You know, the running game is what was, you know, what led the team. But where were the receivers? So, you know, when I talk about coaching changes, the only coach I think should be fired is Adam Fuller. Everybody else, I don't really feel too strongly about it. I mean, because, and the reason why I say I don't feel too strongly about it is Ron Dugans has shown the ability to coach. We've seen him have the ability to do something really, you know what I mean? He's had a good receiver group. He's been successful. So maybe there's just, you know, some a disconnect that another year will you know, get some influx in talent, maybe get some grad transfers and a better quarterback, and maybe you can see the wide receiver group turn around. But Adam Fuller kind of his defense wasn't great in Memphis, so I think it just translated there. That's my opinion. Sam, you got anything else on this one? Richie, Freddie?
Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good, and I don't want to get too deep on firing coaches with Freddie on the pod. I know he's I don't want to hit a sensitive subject.
So it's funny, right? So I know we just kind of talked about the defense, but I guess what were some of the biggest issues on the team, Freddie? I mean, what when you looked at it overall, right? I know we can all talk about the defense, we talk about Adam Fuller, but outside of I guess the obvious, what are some of the other things you may have seen?
I think just shoot a lot of things we already know, just coming in and shoot a lot of dudes having to deal with another coach. So now you got different shoot some of these guys, Jimmo guys, Willie guys. Now you got Norvell in here. Some guys may have bought in, some guys may never rock with Norvell. That's just the reality of the situation. And then you got that clashing on the field. Some guys, man, I'm just gonna do my own thing. It happened. People don't believe it happened. It happened. Like I'm gonna do my own thing. They're not putting me in a situation to succeed. And they're just out there freestyling. Now you got another guy that bought in and they on two different pages. And on the flip side of that, got coaches not understanding these players and utilizing them. My biggest thing, one of my biggest issues was it took us so long just to utilize Amari Gainer, one of our best defenders on the deep, one of our biggest playmakers. And we couldn't find a way to get him on the field. I don't care where you put him, he gonna make plays. Stop trying to find out for Amari Gainer late in the season didn't make sense to me. So it go on both sides. Guys didn't understand how to utilize their talent, and we have players that may not go in. I was talking players behind the scenes would be like, "Yo, we got guys just shoot. They know what to do. They just running in the wrong guys." And then you hear him saying "Shoot, they don't necessarily know how to use this guy. He should get more opportunities." So I feel like it's on more than one side to blame.
Richie.
Yeah, I mean we talk about no spring for a first-year head coach, and I think that's valid. And I think more than the scheme, installment itself is that he didn't have a chance to evaluate what kind of players he has, both from a talent level and from what kind of locker room guys are they. Because I wonder if a guy like DJ Matthews is still on the team in fall camp if we had a full spring and they could see things happen like that. So it's just been a weird year. The coaches that they have not done a great job getting the team to buy in as a whole. And a lot of that, like Freddie said, some of these guys are on their third head coach. Some of these guys are on their fourth position coach. It's just so much going on, and we do need some stability here. So I think, we do have a lack of talent at Florida State right now, but it's not like we're lacking talent against Louisville or NC State, and they ran us off the field. So you have to find out who's bought in, and hopefully with a full spring, if we have that, and going into fall camp, because next year it's no excuses, right? You win 3 games next year, you can't defend that at all. Again, it's going to be patience for Florida State fans, and I know we're going to get into this a little bit later, but it's going to be a long rebuild.
Let me ask you a question. Hold on, Sam, before you jump in.
Are you good?
A lot of people have said this is year 0. I'm trying to figure out where did that. First of all, where did it come from? So why is this? Why should we, or if you believe we should, why should we consider this year 0?
I think the biggest thing is, from a recruiting standpoint. We talked about not having a spring to install your system, but that was again, if Florida State knew what was coming, they would have kept Willie Taggart for one more year to just ride this thing out. But you brought in a coach that has no ties to the state of Florida. And he brought in a bunch of assistants who don't really have ties to the state of Florida either. Couple that with you can't get kids on campus and you can't meet with them face to face. So it was just every first year head coach was at a disadvantage. I know some did better than others. But yeah, this was the absolute worst year to have a first year head coach. And in Florida State's position, it was the worst year because you had just fired someone after Jimbo Fisher left us at the end of 2017. So we are in such a unique situation that it's hard to think anyone could have had success this year. And, shame on me and Freddie. We thought we were going to win 8 games this year.
No, we weren't too far behind that. Yeah, we weren't too far behind 8 wins. Freddie. Talk about this year zero, man.
Yeah, I just think it's tough with like it was weird to me hearing that shoot because as a player, it's like man that played at that level, like shoot, they ain't really give us no excuses. Like it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? We got to
Right.
figure it out. The whole year zero thing, I was kind of hard on that at first, but then as I went, I was like, shoot, it is tough. Like, cause I probably would have never even like came to Florida State if I couldn't visit. You know what I'm saying? If I could visit nowhere, if I would have been at another school, because I came to Florida State late. So I mean, it's tough. You got guys that don't get opportunity to build relationships with coaches and stuff. And for some guys, like over the phone is cool, but coming in and seeing somebody face to face, like getting a true understanding for what type of person that is, and that's a tough situation. Now, on the field not having a spring, that kills you, but you still have opportunity in fall camp to see what type of guys you're dealing with. And then fall camp, if we're being honest, is a lot more intense in spring. So a guy's true character gonna come out. So I don't really like. I don't get like the whole spring thing. That's cool, but you should know what type of guys you're dealing with after fall camp. You know who the ballers are. You know who the hotheads are. You know where the coach of your team is after fall camp. So as far as that, I'm not giving them any leeway on that. But as far as the recruiting, I could say year zero. But other than that, nah, like we still knew what we had on the table and could have figured things out as far as utilizing the guys, building their culture, and then if we had some cancers and they're gone out, then we got that job accomplished. But that's something we should have known at the fall camp.
The year zero thing. First of all, I just the problem what I had with the coaches, even when you talk about year zero, not understanding what you got, did they not watch film on these players? And I think that's the thing that bothered me a little bit more, because if you Fuller's scheme, if we really be honest, Fuller's scheme isn't that much different than what Willie and Barnett and Levitt was trying to do last year. You know, they used Mark Gainer rushing the passer and dropping in coverage a little bit here and there. And to come in this year and to just leave him in coverage, it's just like some of the stuff you could have watched film on. I mean, Asante Samuel is a really good off corner. Does a good job of an off guy. Sometimes they had him in bump and run a lot, and I was like, why is he in bump and run? Like, Asante Samuel is such a technician that you just give him the leadway. How do you want to guard this guy, Asante? And Asante give him that freedom because he's shown that he's good enough technician and a good enough corner to do that. You got guys like Dent, who, from what I understand, was never really healthy the whole season. You kind of put him in positions that was embarrassing him, knowing he was hurt, not giving him safety help, not giving him linebackers underneath him to help him out, to give him more freedom. So I felt like the coaches, I think they did not. I think they truly believed that the staff prior to them was a bunch of clowns, and they did not watch any of the film and said, we just can give a free, like, no evaluation. We're going to evaluate y'all on the fly. And I think that was a huge mistake. Just going back watching it, I feel like that was a mistake, because even the wide receivers, you got the same wide receiver coach. Are you coaching them different now than how you was coaching them last year? Because last year they wasn't bad last year. So I just don't understand. I didn't understand that. Like, I'm even with Hilton. You had Hilton playing outside a lot. Why is he outside so much? He's a slot wide receiver that can make plays. Like, a lot of those little swing option things that he was doing, a lot of that should have been going to Hilton. I don't know. I just, a lot of stuff just didn't make sense to me this year. It's just, I feel like they didn't watch film on those players.
No, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, like just to touch on what you said about Hilton, he's a good player, but they were trying to get him into with a Terry issue, a number one or number two receiver. Like, nothing against him, he's not a number one or number two. He's a number three guy. Get him involved in screen action, move him around in the slot, and just allow him to move freely. That's what he's had success at. They tried to make him the guy, and he's not that. Nothing against him, he's a great, solid player. Like, you look at guys such as Cooper Kupp, he's not the number one receiver, but he kills every game. You know what I'm saying? Out of the slot, moving around, causing mismatches in the offense, and that's how Hilton should be used. But they try to use him as a number 1, number 2, and it kind of takes him out of the game. Now you put one of the best defenders on him, and it just completely kills his whole entire game. He's not able to get in the rhythm.
Yeah.
No, I'll say that the year 0, I never really bought into it. I thought it was a built-in excuse a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So when I looked at a lot of people who were saying, all right, this is year 0, so, you know, he needs to learn. He has to figure this out. And I was thinking, I think, and I hate to bring it up, but I think Willie would have really benefited from a year 0. You know what I'm saying? Like coming off of what he had from, Jimbo from not recruit. Jimbo basically took a year off from recruiting. We've all heard all the stories. So when I look at it and I say, all right, well, if anybody needed a year 0, probably was the guy who, had to come in and put together a class that hadn't been recruited or hadn't been talked to by Florida State in 3 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the guy who probably should have deserved a year 0. And so then I look and I say, all right, why, what is with this year 0 thing? Why did we start this? Who started this? And then, they seem to run with it all season long. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem to make very much sense to me when I say, okay, you know what I mean? To me, it just sounded like a built-in excuse. There was a lot of things that, like Sam said, could have been addressed in the offseason. He was at the bowl game. You know what I mean? You watched it. You saw it up close and personal. You knew that James Blackman was a head case for the, for lack of a better term. Like he was a broken player. I think we all knew that last season. We watched the meltdown in the bowl game, and if I'm the head coach, I'm sitting here and I'm watching this guy melt down in a bowl game against a team that's not really. That's funny. But no, like we're watching a guy who's absolutely, melted down in the bowl game, and we can say, all right, but we're going to bring him out and make him our starter to start the season. I said, what did you see that everybody else, didn't see? You know what I mean? What film were you watching? What game were you watching? And what did you see that nobody else did? Then I look at it and I say, all right, Jordan Travis clearly was the best quarterback on this roster, on this team. How did you miss that? You know what I'm saying? Like, how did you miss that? What have you been evaluating in practice over these last, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? Like, what did you see? I mean, I get it, right? Like, he was healthy. He was unhealthy at times. He is very injury prone, but he still gives you the best chance to win these football games. That Georgia Tech game, you win that game with Jordan Travis as your quarterback. So I look at it and I say, it's a lot of things that I thought they could have handled better. And so so the year 0 for me just seems like an excuse. I don't know what you guys feel. Richard?
I got nothing on the year 0 thing, man.
Like
I said,
I'm just saying everybody was like, no,
I definitely think it's valid for recruiting. And like I said, mainly because there's no ties to Florida. There's not a lot of ties to Florida on this staff. Which does hurt, but they found some success a little bit, I guess, late. But
the recruiting thing is weird though because Mike didn't hire himself. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, we could talk about the administration, but that pod goes on forever. But it's just like, I mean, you're hiring a coach you hired a coach. You finish pretty fast. You hire another coach, and you hire this coach when then you got to do a short turnaround for recruiting, and you got to rebuild this roster. Maybe it's not the best idea to hire somebody that has no recruiting ties to Florida. I mean, that's how I think. That's how I think. You know what I'm saying? But
and that was one of the main concerns when he was hired.
Right.
But unfortunately, none of us saw this pandemic coming and just shutting recruiting down. Which so I have a nephew, and he's a high school senior. He's being recruited for looking mainly at Division II schools, and talking to my brother-in-law, it's been really difficult because they.
But is he a grinder? Does he work really hard? Is he a good locker room guy? Because Mike could take him.
He's got a 5-star heart, he just won his back-to-back state titles for his high school team. So, he's got that. But, he said, it's just difficult because they can't meet these coaches in person. And, my brother-in-law is big, about in-person meeting these things. So I think that's a valid excuse. But, to your guys' point, on the field, the product we saw, I don't think it's as valid. Because we saw coaches like, Lane Kiffin without a spring light up the scoreboard. His defense is trash, but his offense was lighting it up. So in that aspect, I don't think it's a very valid excuse.
That's what I think. On the field, there's no excuses. Fall camp, it is what it is. You have plenty of time during fall camp. Guys are there on tour days, and you have this opportunity to build relationships and see how guys play under pressure. So handle pressure. So we should have seen, like you said, James Blackman there was some situation. You knew he was coming into the season. So my question was like, I think everybody else that just that bad, and then you see Jordan Travis come in and just kill it. So you're like, man, something I don't know how they missed that. They got to make somebody up. But the field, there's no excuse for that. But recruiting, I know it can be tough. So I
tell them, Freddie, it's a little
hard.
hard. It's a little hard to get those envelopes. The envelopes that need to get delivered is harder to get delivered when you can't come in on campus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just joking,
Cash
man.
App still work, man. Cash App still work.
I'm just joking, man. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, we just playing, man.
Yeah, no, we just playing a little bit. Hey, so I guess we're gonna turn the page a little bit, right? We talked about some of the problems. We talked about some of the challenges. What excites you about the team? What excites you going forward? You know what I mean? What are some of the things that you can look at and say, all right, I can see we might be turning the ship. We may be heading in the right direction. Let's talk about some of the positive things that we can see going forward. Freddie, go ahead.
I think one of the big positives is even though you didn't want it to happen, so we had to pay a lot of young guys early, like one of the youngest teams in the country. So that's going to only help us in the long run, getting some young guys some reps. And next year, if everything continues to get better with this whole COVID thing, we'll have a spring. So now that's out the way. No excuses going to come in the next year. Like, we got a spring, they're going to have a fall camp, and now these guys are getting all these reps. So I think that should only help. You got guys like, I'm a big Amari Gainer guy. I like Brownlee too. I like young guy plays tough. I like Brownlee, and then you see Travis J. He's been banged up a little bit this season, but you've seen him at points in the season. He kind of splashed out there. So young guys like that getting more and more opportunities. But I think even with Milton coming in, just the identity that this team is taking, like we still had our issues once Jordan Travis took over. Like having a guy like that on your team, I think it'll only help. Just having that mentality. We've seen it like the Jacksonville State game. Like this was a team that seemed like they had no energy, no motivation. Then he comes in and completely changes everything. We still had our battles, but it's like, all right, this is a team that now they're going into games. They believe they can win. I felt like Bowden, like, man, we can just go out here and see what happens. But after Jordan Travis came, it's like, yo, because Jacksonville State might have whooped us if he ain't coming to the game. I ain't even gonna say Mike. They whooped us.
They would.
So, they were finna beat us. They were finna beat us. And Fuller's gonna get fired on the field.
Yeah, that was good.
That was gonna be. And then just see that, and I think coming in, and then you bring in a guy like Milton, like that's gonna be interesting. The guy, if he's healthy, he's proven winner, proven leader. You bring a guy in like that, and then guys buy in. And I think a guy like Jordan Travis, you got to find a way to get him on the field, and his energy is gonna be contagious continuously. So having two guys that lead the team, you see that they can change the culture of the team. That'll be big. That's what I'm excited about. I don't know if they got a plan for Jordan Travis, but you can't not utilize a skill set like that, especially when you see how infectious his energy is to the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same, Richard.
What was the question? Sorry.
No, I was asking what excites them about. Yeah, I was asking what excites them about. Yeah, what excites them in the future.
Go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, so kind of like Freddie said, we saw some young players get out there and have a chance to make some plays. I think they're, anytime you're playing, a lot of freshmen and sophomores, you're not going to have a good football team. But we saw some flashes out of these players, and then Mackenzie Milton coming in is huge for me. Not obviously because we know what he can do on the field if he's healthy. We'll see. Even if he's 85% of what he was, that's still a huge upgrade. So that excites me. I think Alex Atkins was by far Mike Norvell's best hire, and we're starting to see that offensive line come together. We had a couple pieces coming in. Hopefully we can hang on to McAnally, the offensive lineman who's decided to wait till February. LSU's on him now. But I think the offense, I fully trust Mike and what he's doing with the offensive side of the ball. it's the other side that I'm just concerned about because Norvell, when Jordan Travis came in this year, they completely changed what they did on offense to fit his skill set, and it worked out really well. So it shows that they understand what they're doing. They understand what the abilities their players have on that side of the ball. So I do think we will have a good to respectable offense next year and moving forward. Again, it's the other side of the ball we got to figure out.
Yeah, let's talk about the two things that we know for sure is good about this program. Alice Atkins, and I do trust Coach Storms. I think give Coach Storms a full offseason with those guys. I really do believe he can transform their bodies and make them a lot more productive players. I think that's something we've been missing too, is a really good strength and conditioning program. And I think get him a full offseason. I think he can do that. I am excited what Mike Norvell does with the running game. His passing game leaves a little bit to the desire, but that might be because the wide receiver was coached by Ron Dugans, but we talked about that earlier. But I think Coach Storms and Alice Atkins are things that you can look at and be like, okay, this is run around with those two guys. We had a question about Peyton. Peyton by game 4, I think, could be playing at FSU. For the record.
No, he was asking about how long to establish recruiting in South Florida, but we can dive into that one in a minute. No, listen, I think for me personally, I say the offense, just the offense as a whole, right? I look at it and I say, all right, you got Mackenzie Milton, and I agree, even at 85%, he's going to be your best quarterback on the field. He's mobile. Based on the tapes that I've seen, he looks like he still has some wheels. You know what I mean? Look like he can still move. He throws an unbelievable ball. I think Mackenzie Milton upgrades your offense immediately, like already, right? But then I look at it and I say, you got Toa Philly, he's now a sophomore. He's got in his second year. He takes a step up. You have basically running back by committee right now. So you got a whole lot of running backs who are all able to, basically run. None of them, I don't think, are game-breaking home run Dalvin Cook type of players. But when you put them all together, they're really, really good. You know what I mean? They're really good. You got your short yardage back. You got, a little bit explosive, shifty back. And I like the way Mike Norvell is using these guys, even with some of the little swing passes to the running backs, getting them out in space. So I do believe the way he's utilizing the running backs, I think is huge, right? So then I look at it takes a lot of pressure off of the wide receiver group, which may have an ability to take a step up. So when I talk about what excites me, again, defensively, is a wash. I have no idea, right? You may have to score 40, 45, 50 points in order to beat teams. And that's, if that's what it is, that's kind of what was happening in Memphis, to be honest with you. You look at that last season, there was a whole lot of shootouts. And that may end up being that may end up being, Florida State for a little while. We watched it, I guess, last night with Florida and Alabama. It ended up being a shootout. So,
dude, that's just terrible.
Yeah, it was a lot of bad defense on there, but
hey,
that's a sad thing to say about a Nick Saban coach team. But
the funny part is when Pete Golden was on his knees and Nick Saban just yelling at him.
I love Nick Saban, man. Nick
Saban bit down with him as he was bending down to yell at him. That shit was hilarious, man. I'm like, yeah, that's terrible. And I know Gretham was terrible, but that was hard to watch last night. I don't care what nobody said. That was hard to watch.
No, what's funny is it looked like one of those Big Ten games, or not Big Ten,
Big 12.
Yeah, Big 10. It looked like one of Big 12 now, I think it is, right?
The Big 12, the SEC is the new Big 12, and the Big 12 is the new SEC.
Yeah, no, it looked real bad. Yeah, it looked very familiar. But anyway, no, I mean, again, defensively, I don't know how much better we're going to be, even with a lot of, good pieces I think they picked up in recruiting. I'm just not seeing them being that much better. I think when I look at it and I say, but the offense really, really excites me, especially with a good quarterback, especially with, the running game by committee that they got going on. And again, we already talked about Atkins and what he's doing with the line. So I think offensively they take a huge step forward, and I do think they're probably one of the top offenses, again, just because I think they got a lot of pieces and a really good quarterback. So, when I talk about exciting me, that's kind of what it is. But I actually did want to dive into the question because we touched on it a little earlier when we were talking about recruiting. He was asking basically how long before we can establish a recruiting base in thanks. So after picking up Peyton from South Florida, how long will you guys consider it will take the staff to have a solid relationship in South Florida? And I'm Freddie. How long do you think? I mean, yeah, actually, I'm throwing you Richard first because you talked about it. They don't have any ties to anybody, and they didn't have any ties to anybody in Florida, and so, but that was the decision they made. Richie, man, how long do you think it really would take for them to establish some footholds in South Florida?
It's going to be tough. They just extended the recruiting dead period to April 15th now, and you got to think it's probably going to get extended beyond that again. But really, all it takes is finding a James Coley, finding one assistant who has ties with all these high school coaches that can get Mike Norvell in the door and make him a priority. That's all it takes. And Eddie Gran, go find someone like that. That's really all it takes. If you can't find someone like that, it's probably going to be another 2 years at least.
Yeah. I agree. And Eddie Grant is on the market. So Freddie, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with him. Shoot, you gotta have them South Florida ties. Shoot, on our staff when I was there, man, we had a coach and Bruce said, "Man, listen, these coaches, man, they coming up to him like it's family. Like anytime you want to pull up, you can pull up, whether we talking ball or not. You got to have that type of relationship because without Brewster, we didn't get Dalvin Cook. Like that's just the simple reality. So one of the best players in Florida State history, South Florida guy. And we had a guy that was known for bringing those guys in, like everywhere he went. So you got to understand how important that is. No matter what the situation is right now, we got to have these South Florida guys. Like I understand there's talent in other states, but South Florida, in the state of Florida, that's where the top dog. Like, and that's where a lot of the NFL talent comes from. So it's important. It's critical to the success of your program that you get somebody in that can recruit South Florida at a high level. You're going to get guys that like Coach Brewster, and that's our rival. Like he had Florida now, so we're going against a guy that has that established relationship, and we got to compete with these guys. So we got to get somebody in like a Grant that has that relationship and has that history of getting these guys in.
Yep, Sam.
They got to develop the guy from Florida, and those guys can go back and recruit for you. You know what I'm saying? The best recruiters you can have is the guys on your team. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, grabbing little, 3-star guys from down in South Florida, giving them an opportunity, developing those guys, and other guys, the bigger name guys down there, watching those guys develop and turn into good players. That's a pretty damn big recruiting tool. You know what I'm saying? That can do more for you than any coach can. If we just being honest. I would hire Eddie Graham. But like I said, I would fire a couple coaches and I would make sure I got a guy like Eddie on the staff. But it's gonna be a tough road to climb. I think Mike does have to humble himself a little bit because I think Mike coming up through the ranks was an anxious high school coach that wanted to move up the ranks. A lot of these coaches in the South, especially high school coaches, they have a different mentality. And I'm not saying that is one way's right or wrong, but these high school coaches, they enjoy being high school coaches. They want to be high school coaches. They enjoy everything that means in their community. They don't want to leave their communities. You know what I'm saying? So they're not gonna kiss the ring when you come around. You know what I'm saying? Like they think they're just as good as football coaches as you are. So you have to kind of be humble when you're dealing with those type of guys. So it's a different language down in South Florida. It's damn sure a different language in Georgia altogether. Those are different languages you're speaking. Those coaches don't want to be you. You know what I'm saying? It's a little different when you're a coach that you came up the range, you want to be like Nick Saban. These coaches don't want to do that. These coaches want to develop great high school players and take care of their community. You have to invest in them in that type of way. You have to speak that language.
Nope, I 100% agree with just about everything everybody said. I'm not going to rehash it. But I am going to move, I guess, to we all know we're in the middle of a rebuild. I mean, I don't think we knew it when we started the season. I think, again, what I say, 8 or 9 wins, we were somewhere around the same. So I don't think we knew when we started this season we were going to be in the middle of a rebuild. But clearly we're here. You know what I mean? We're clearly going to be in the middle of a rebuild here. So I guess my question is, how long does this rebuild take? How long? Florida State, I don't think. Well, maybe we did. Maybe we went through a rebuild. Maybe we haven't. Not like this, but how long does a rebuild take? How long do you estimate, I guess, this rebuild to take, Freddie?
Shoot, putting a number on it, that's tough, man.
No, I need a number. Listen, the fans, I don't need to know. Matter of fact, the fans want to know. They need to know when they can be happy, when they can return to their TV
sets. Saying like it's like being elite again, like, or is it just being like competitive?
At this point, we'll take competitive.
Competitive,
Yeah.
I could say 4 years. Now elite, I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole different monster. It's so many things that come in the play when you talk about being elite, like from the coaching staff to the things we talk about as far as administration. Like, it's so much that people don't understand that be an elite program you gotta have.
No, I mean, all right, 4 years. Richie, what you got?
Yeah, like Freddie said, is it elite or is it just competitive or where we at? Honestly, look at Miami last year. They score 0 points in their bowl game. They hit the portal, do really well, and they were ranked in the top 10 most of the year. So it's back to me is winning the ACC and getting to the playoff. And I think Freddie's right. It's going to be at least 4 years, maybe 3 if you're lucky. But with the class we just signed, probably not. So yeah, if you're looking college football playoff, competing with Clemson, because let's be honest, that's who we care about in the ACC. Miami, they're irrelevant to me still. I know what they did to us this year. They're not winning anything anytime soon. So catching Clemson is the goal, and yeah, it's going to be 4 or 5 years probably, and that's where we're at. But that doesn't mean that in 2 years we can't have a fluke season where we win a bunch of close games and end up in a New Year's Six bowl. It's possible. It's just getting back to where you could expect for Florida State to win national titles. I'm 32 years old. We have 3 national titles in my lifetime. That's kind of spoiled. My wife's an Alabama fan, so she's a little more spoiled than me. But that's
Damn.
she had me wearing an Alabama hat last night. I'm like, give me that thing. Screw the Gators. But yeah, it's man, it's 4 or 5 years. But next year, if you get to 6 or 7 wins next year, I think you should be encouraged because that'd be a really good season. The one thing that as a fan we're excited about, but is going to really hurt this rebuild is our out of conference schedule the next decade with LSU, Bama, Georgia, Notre Dame. All we picked the wrong time to sign up for all these guys.
How long is the rebuild going to take? I would say this: if the FSU administration fully commits to influxing that football team with cash and putting the necessary things in place, this can flip faster than everybody thinks. This is just my personal opinion. I think they have to invest in this football team in a way. And I'm not saying they got to go broke doing it, but they need to get pretty damn close to going broke to do it. You know what I'm saying? You can't microwave. A coach is not going to microwave the type of success that you need at FSU. He needs a lot of support to do it. They still been hesitant to do that, in my opinion. I think there are things there. You need to put things in for those student athletes that makes other people say, okay, I want to go there. It's not that much different. The college experience at Florida State won't be that much different than what it is at Clemson or Bama or Georgia. They need to invest in that way. And I know that sounds crazy, but I really do think if the administration get it together, and hopefully that happens with a new AD and new president. Hopefully that happens. But 3 years, I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy to flip it in 3 years. I mean, if Chubb was good, turns out to be a good player, and it really starts with the quarterback position. If Chubb or McKenzie have good seasons next year, or Jordan Travis have a great season next year, I mean, you could win. You could flip it and be 7 games, 8 games. I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, we watched Florida flip from a 4-win team to a New Year's 6 team. I mean, we watched Miami recently. I mean, they got Travis King, and boom, they look like a totally different team. I mean, does that mean you're going to beat Clemson or Notre Dame or LSU? Probably not. But you could beat NC State. I mean, you could beat Duke, the Wake Forest of the world. You can beat those teams and get into a game with like a North Carolina and fluky and win it. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I don't think people want to make this out to be like some long trodden thing. I don't think it's that, man. I think you get some guys in there, you get some recruits in there, man. You invest in that football program and show the rest of the country and the rest of the state that you just invested in as Florida and all these other programs. And I think you can flip it pretty fast.
And on that note, Sam, how quickly it can happen. I remember 2009, I was a senior at Florida State. I went down to Gainesville for that game against Florida for Tim Tebow's senior day,
All
and
right.
it was ugly. I think it was Dallas Baker got a touchdown, just throws it into the upper deck,
Throws it.
and then
I think that was Aaron Hernandez.
it might have been Hernandez.
That was Aaron Hernandez who do it in this thing.
Yeah, after he abused Greg Reed on that play, my goodness. But then the very next year, I'm at Doak, and we beat him 31-7. Right. That's it. College football is so cyclical. So I what me and Freddie said about 4 years, that's conservative. But like you said, it's one thing. It only takes one thing to click. If Milton will get you 7 games next year, get you 7 wins, then hey, high school quarterbacks, the blue chip guys are going to say, hey, man, I see what Norvell did with Jordan Travis, for that when he was healthy. I saw what he did with Mackenzie Milton. Maybe I want to go play in this offense.
Right. It can flip, man.
No, I agree, right? So 4 years, I think, is the time it takes for us to be elite again, right? But I do think it shouldn't be that far away to where we're competitive with Wake Forest. I mean, we were all expecting to lose yesterday to Wake Forest. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody had us, be well. I mean, few people did, but I mean, it's looking like we were going to lose that game. Duke was iffy. Nobody knew.
We was definitely losing to Wake Forest, bro. It's a good thing they canceled that game. That was happening, bro.
Freddie and I both picked Wake Forest on that.
That's what I mean, right? So nobody picked us to beat Wake Forest.
Yeah, what they to the linebackers that what I'm saying, all that stuff they throw behind the linebackers stuff, and the way our linebackers play, that was gonna get ugly real fast, bro. That was and they go fast too, and we ain't got no depth. That was gonna be ugly. I'm glad they canceled the game. I really am.
It's funny. I'm gonna ask y'all a question about the canceling these games after a while because you just made me think of a question. But no, let me finish my point. We should still. I could see next year after 2 years, we should be able to compete with Wake Forest and with Duke and with North Carolina State and with Louisville and Pitt and all. You know what I mean? Like, you're not Clemson. You're not gonna beat Clemson. You're not gonna beat Notre Dame probably in the net. But you should be able to compete with everybody else in the ACC. Just based on the limited talent. It's not great talent, but you still have more talent than Wake Forest. You still have more talent than Duke. You still have more talent than Pitt. You still have, So, in my opinion, 6-7 wins shouldn't be that difficult. You know what I mean? Like, again, I understand you're going to get demolished by Clemson. Dabo is going to try his best to score 100 because he's going to be upset about, this last year. So, expect to get 100 put on you next year. Get that. Just take that game, throw it away, right? And Notre Dame probably is going to beat you pretty well as well. You know what I mean? Because they're a better football team. Who knows? But all these other games, it shouldn't be, all right, we're going to get blown out by Wake. It shouldn't be we're going to get blown out by this. So, in my opinion, I can see us being competitive in a year, maybe 2, because the way, even at the level we're recruiting at now, we should absolutely be able to get back to winning football games. You know what I mean? To winning football games. I ain't even acknowledge Dabo Garcia. I appreciate you acknowledge, but for those of y'all on the live, that's funny. But
hey,
no,
Jimbo,
man. So
Jimbo talking big shit yesterday. Bro.
As he should have been. But
I touched the TV screen when he started talking. I just touched the TV screen just to
put your hand up against it. Yeah. Put your hand up against it. You miss it. I understand. but no, man. So I just can't see it taking that long, man, to rebuild. I can't see the rebuild taking that long before we at least competitive. Again, winning the ACC, unless a Clemson offensive coordinator who shall remain nameless decides to take a job at another school that shall remain nameless. I just can't see, Clemson falling off that big. So I think right now our competition should be everybody else. You know what I mean? Everybody else not named. Get to, again, Miami shouldn't be that far ahead of us either. You know what I mean? So get back to being competitive with Miami. That should be your kind of how Miami treats us as our Super Bowl. That should be your Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You're not going to beat Florida probably next year, but you should be able to beat just about everybody else on your schedule, or at least be competitive in those games in year 2. So, we'll see.
And I think that's a good point, that what goes on around you matters. Like Jimbo was very fortunate that his first year as a head coach, that was Urban Meyer's last year as a head coach at Florida. Yeah. And then they made a bad hire in Miami. All Miami does is make bad hires. So it's like you said, if Brent Venables leaves Clemson, or maybe the NCAA comes knocking, which they won't because Clemson's now one of their cash cows, but things can flip quickly. And it's not just at Florida State, it's at the programs around you.
Oh, it takes luck. It takes luck for a rebuild, man. It takes luck. Yeah, you need some pieces to start moving around you. You need stability in the places where you need to have it at. Yeah.
No, that was it. I had a question. I forgot it now. You said something, Sam. I forgot. What were you just talking about? I can't remember now.
What? Oh, man, I don't know, man. I just want to fire Adam Fuller every day. That's all I really got.
It was something. No, it was something you said. I was like, I was gonna come back to it, but I was gonna finish my point in my mind back. But anyway, no, man. Anybody got anything else, man? Freddie, Richie, man. We appreciate you guys, man. You got some final thoughts, man, on the season or on just the wrap up, Freddie?
Yeah, just going back on everything. I know. So it was the first year. The coaching staff got the opportunity to bring in that, build that culture. And I know everybody talking about year zero, whatever it may be. And then you hear people saying all the time, like, what does it take for this 3 and 6 year to be a success? What it takes is to come back next year and then win 6 to 7 games. That's the only way you come back and say that 3 to 6 year was a success. Right now, nobody's proud of a 3 to 6 year. But if you come back next year and win 6, 7 games, okay, maybe they made an impact last year. They built the right culture, and we're moving in the right direction. That's what it's going to take for me to feel like this year was a success.
Yep, Richard.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to call this year a success, but I'll take it a little different direction. I've been a diehard Florida State fan since I was a little kid. I'm just happy we got to see Florida State football this year, and we got to see that win over North Carolina. And then we got to see North Carolina put it on Miami. So
and they still running.
Still
running.
So there's not a lot of positives you take out of a 3 and 6 season, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. You just need to get these kids to buy in, get through these winter workouts, get into spring and come back and put a respectable product on the field next year. And we're going to find out early because we open with the Notre Dame the Sunday before Labor Day.
That's
well, we won't find out. We won't find out exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if we should use that one as
an idea.
We will participate though. We will participate.
Hey, but Notre Dame loses a lot after this year. They lose like their entire offensive line, their quarterback.
Yeah, they got the best They got the best offensive line of football, no doubt. Hey, Richie. Hey, man, you linking up, man, for the Top Golf at Dope, man? What's up, man? We linking?
I'm gonna see if I can get up there. The fact that there's a basketball game, I think they play Wake Forest at the Tuck. Man, last night that sucked. But
that was bad.
But I'll definitely be considering. Man, it's get to hit some golf balls in Doak. What better thing can you think of, man?
I know, man. I think I'm going.
Listen, I don't have anything else, man. I think I've said it all either on this podcast or the other ones. 3 and 6 is unacceptable at Florida State. I mean, am I wrong? You know what I mean, Freddie?
No.
You play. I mean, you would never want to be. You would never. Yeah, okay. You would never want to be a part of a 3 and 6.
You're so damn negative, man. You're so damn negative.
Listen, I call it how I see it. Okay, so let me say this then. So 3 and 6, is unacceptable. But I do believe next year 6 wins shouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, and honestly should be what it is. You know what I mean? Again, you should not lose to Wake. You should not lose to whoever. Like again, get Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida. Take those L's, right? Everybody else shouldn't be guaranteed losses.
Give me 6
and Wake Forest, right? And Wake Forest should never be a guaranteed loss. That was like we all picked them to lose. So I mean, and that's what I mean. So I do think next season will say a lot to me about where this program is headed, about whether they hired the right guy, and what this season, not good.
You want to know what's ironic? At the beginning of the season, man, I had a post that said we got to start getting the dogs back in here that's hungry, that got a chip on their shoulder, because we straight soft right now. I was like, man, if you want nice guys, then might as well recruit guys over in Wake Forest. And then it's crazy because we picked Wake Forest to beat us. Like, so now I'm putting my foot in my own mouth, man.
No, that's a real good note to end it on right there. Listen, we appreciate you guys coming on, man, for real. We definitely want to return the favor. Whenever you guys want to have us on, just let us know. Freddie, Richie, we appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. Hey, listen, check out the Double Fries No Slaw podcast. Subscribe to the Listen Up podcast. We out, man.
All right, yo. Hey, Rich, Freddie, man, thank you guys, man. I really appreciate it, man.
No
Yeah, thanks for
problem.
having us,
Appreciate y'all
man.
having us on.
We'll do one
No,
of
we appreciate
those.
it.
We'll do one of those off-topic pods one time during the off season. Get you guys back, man.
Okay, cool.
Sounds good.